Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to talk about the narcissist and restraining orders. The narcissist and restraining orders. And I'm going to talk about it from both ends, okay? Because, for the survivors out there who are pondering if they need to, in fact, obtain a restraining order in their situation, or if, they're going through that process right now, or they're actually, situations where the narcissist will try to obtain a restraining order against the survivor because we know that they like to play the victim. All right, so I want to talk about it from both ends. All right, and hopefully by the end of the video, you guys will have some general information that will help you begin, to understand this in a full circle manner. But before I get into that, I will disclose that I am not a lawyer, nor am I giving legal advice specifically to anyone. I'm just talking to the survivor community as a whole, and I'm passing some general helpful information, and it must be general because every state has, its little specific details and fine print as to how, they may go about obtaining, processing, enforcing the restraining orders, okay? So let's talk about what a restraining order is. First, I find it, might as well start with a definition, okay? Now, generally speaking, restraining orders are issued by judges, okay? So this happens through the court system, okay? Now, restraining orders are issued by judges to protect victims of abuse and harassment from further such acts. That is what the restraining orders are supposed to be used for. They are supposed to be used to protect the victims of abuse and harassment from further such acts. Okay, so what type of abuses are we talking about here? Let's get into that. Now, typically speaking, when people are getting restraining orders, it's going to be one of these kind of abuses going on. Either it's going to be something related to domestic violence. Okay, it could be sexual abuse. It could be some kind of child abuse. It could be false imprisonment. All right. So let's go over that again. It's typically domestic violence, which could be attempted, which could be actually something that actually happened, or repeated threats of bodily injury, rape, which is the sexual abuse, involuntary deviated sexual intercourse, indecent assault, incest, false imprisonment, and child abuse. These are typically the things that the restraining orders are sought for. Okay, now who can you get a restraining order against? Because it's only for certain kinds of relationships. All right, so you need to understand that as well. Typically speaking, in order to get a restraining order against another party or another person, they need to be a family member. They need to reside under your household. They need to be an intimate partner, or you have to have a child with them. This is typically the checklist that they will go down to determine if you can, in actuality, get a restraining order against that person. But let me pause it right there, because we know how manipulative a narcissist can be. And I've seen situations where the person or the narcissist lied and said that the other party was an intimate party with them, that they had a relationship with this person, and it was a lie. It was a lie. The narcissist was obsessed with that person and delusional, and they manipulated the system to get a temporary restraining order against an innocent survivor. So, although the courts and, the states and the law set up to have it a certain way, but people, when they're initially filing the petition, because this is what you're filing when you're getting the temporary restraining order before you guys go before a judge, and we'll get into that in a minute, they can say anything on this report, okay? So let's just go down to how this process works now. In the most general sense, someone feels this threatened, okay? They feel unsafe, so they have the option to go file for a restraining order. If the courthouses are still open, they'll go to the courthouse and file a petition. Or on a dark side of things, someone wants to seek negative revenge against you. Perhaps you made them mad. They want to do something to get back at you. Or they live under your roof. They want to see you kicked out. In most states, if you've been residing somewhere, they have to give you a 30 days notice. But if they get something like a restraining order, that will kick you out immediately. So this can be a vindictive way for someone to get you kicked out of their house if they don't want you to live there anymore. Husbands, wives can do this to make it mad at their husbands. So just keep this in mind, because I don't like my survivors to be blindsided, and I've made videos about seeing angles over and over. So I'm always going to provide you those angles, and I know that sounds really messed up, but I'm just letting you know this because somebody probably needs to hear this, that we're living with a family member, we're living with a loved one and got kicked out, and they're confused about it. They just wanted you to be kicked out quicker. They manipulated the system to be able to do that. They're going to give a written statement, and in some states, they're swearing on this statement before a judge that it is true, accurate, and honest. Even placing their hands on the Bible while swearing on top of that. And they're going to write down, what the abuse is, what the other person is doing towards them. They're going to provide all the evidence that they have, and this could be police records and medical records of what's going on, dates, times. They're going to present that they're going to include that, with their written statement. A judge is going to review it and determine if they want to issue a temporary restraining order. Okay? And before we go any deeper, let's just throw out some other terms here, other words that could be used for a restraining order. Sometimes you might hear someone call it a stay away order, or they may call it a PFA order, or protection from abuse order. So those are some other general terminologies that you might hear along with, restraining order. Okay. So, the person went down to the courthouse and filed the petition. And in order to do so, like I said, they have to give that written statement and very specifically talk about the abuse that they are going through. A judge reviews that statement and determines if they feel it serious enough to issue and grant a temporary PFA, protection from abuse order, or a temporary, basically, restraining order until the court date, which is usually 10 days later, or let's just say 10 to 14 days. All right. But it's typically within 10 days. So what will happen is the person who's filing this order will give up contact information that they have on the other party that they're accusing of this abuse. And then this report will be generated to a sheriff who will then serve the other party with the restraining order. Okay? Now, let's go back for a moment. If the courthouse is closed, survivors, you can go down to your local police station and they can help you file the petition as well. All right, just so you know that you have that option for those that are actually using it for bona fide, legit reasons. All right. So yes, the sheriff is going to get that paperwork and then serve it to the other party. Now, once you are served with this restraining order, please comply with it. Comply with it. Just go ahead on and accept it and read it verbatim, of course, or basically read it very carefully and see what you are being accused of. Now, at this point, the stage of the game, it is a temporary order until you guys get into the court. So how can we just talk about this in layman terms? All right, this person came into the courthouse or the police station. They are accusing somebody else of abusing them. A judge has decided to go ahead and give them a temporary restraining order. And it just means, look, we hear your complaints. If this is true, we definitely want to protect you in the meanwhile, but we need to give this other person a chance to come into court and defend themselves and hear their side of the situation. Okay? So we're going to set up this court date and give you a temporary one in the meanwhile. And that's where it is at that point. But definitely still take it very seriously and definitely show up for the court date. All right. So if you're a survivor and a narcissist has manipulated the situation and they're trying to get one against you, definitely keep your no contact. I cannot, no matter what side you are on, whether you're the one that went and got the restraining order or vice versa, keep your no contact. Under no circumstances are you to communicate with this narcissist. I don't care how much they try to love bomb you. It's a setup, you know. And that's what I'm talking about with this video, as far as just looking at it from both ends of the spectrum, because I've seen narcissistic women who want to leave their husband go and get these just so that they can have the upper hand in child custody, you know, so that they can bombard their ex-husband with so many cases, because now he's got a child support case, he's got a restraining order case, we got divorce case going on. So you're trying to juggle all these things at one time, and it's kind of hitting you when you may be in a vulnerable position as well. So I've seen that. And of course, women do this all the time as well. They get mad if a man is breaking up with them, and you know, they may accuse him of things just to try to jack or hurt his life up. In my LGBT community, you know, I see this as well. You know, so it's not just a heterosexual thing or just a homosexual thing. You know, people can do this vindictively, you know, and that's the horrible thing, because it really not only a waste of taxpayers' dollars, but I've seen people really end up in some sticky situations when a narcissist is being manipulative, okay? But you must absolutely comply with, you know, that temporary order. And the type of restrictions that are on that temporary order could be not only you staying away from them, but it could be their family member, it could be their children, it could be you can't go near the locations where they work, where they live. You don't want to do this stuff. Just absolutely comply. Absolutely comply with it, because I know, you know, you can't let your emotions get the best of you, because some people can get this report and get really pissed off. Like, this person went and ran and told a bunch of lies on me, and, you know, you might want to kick their ass. But trust me, that's not going to help the situation. Now is the time to take about 20 deep breaths in and out and really gather yourself and make sure that you are stepping into your logic right now and have that self-control, okay? Because jail is a possibility for, breaking the order. Fines are a possibility. And the things that you're doing leading up to this temporary case will determine whether that final one is going to be issued. So if you're showing you're behind beforehand, even if you are just angry and upset that this person lied on you, it's going to make you look guilty. All right? It's going to make you look guilty. Now, the other thing that I'm going to point out about these kind of cases is they don't give you something called the benefit of discovery. And the reason why you're not getting the proper discovery, per se, is not to hurt your case, but, in the honorable typical situation, these cases are crises, and they get top priority because people have lost their life behind domestic violence. So they take these things very, very serious. So you're going to get the quickest court date possible, which gives you the least amount of time if you are on, the other end of the spectrum where you have to defend yourself against this. But that is the reason why the court date has to be as quickly as possible, because a lot of times it could be life or death. It's very, very serious. The case is like 10 days later, and then 10 days later, it might not even be 10 days by the time you actually get served the paperwork. And especially for those of you who may not even live in the same county as the person. If you weren't living under the same household, if there was a little distance between you and that person, you might accidentally miss that first court date because the sheriff in your area haven't even served you yet. And the narcissist knows this. It's a manipulation. And then, what they'll do is extend that temporary restraining order until the second court date, and hopefully by then your sheriff department will be able to serve you then, and you can show up for that. But going no contact is going to really help you in this situation, especially when the narcissist is pulling this out of thin air. But this is another reason why you don't need to go and tell the new supply about the narcissist. Because I've seen narcissists go get a restraining order based off of that. And then it'll be them and their other person there in the courtroom saying that you're harassing them and seeking that restraining order against you. And you were just trying to actually tell the new supply about all the abuse. So this is why they're not going to believe you anyway, because they're being love bombed. So don't reach out to the new supply for those reasons, because that's going to give the narcissist an opportunity to be manipulative. Okay? But for those of you to where the narcissists have just pulled this out of thin air and trying to get this restraining order when you have been absolutely no contact with this crazy narcissist, take it very serious. Do not break your no contact. And then if the narcissist had actually been contacting you, just gather all your evidence and calm, cool, and collectively go to court. That's what everyone should do anyway. Calm, cool, and collectively. Leave your emotions outside of the courtroom and away from that narcissist at all times. Now isn't the time to let all your emotions spill up for all the hurt that you experience and to be looking emotionally unstable in front of this judge. Now is the time to go in there and calm, cool, and collectively and present your evidence. Whether it's to say, hey, I have not had contact with this person, or I'm not even in a relationship with this person, haven't been in X amount of time. I don't even know why they're filing this on me. Whatever it is that you have to say to defend yourself. Or if you are the survivor that is being stalked, obviously, by the narcissist, and you are maintaining your no contact, which you better be. Okay, I'm telling you right now, like a big sister, maintain that no contact. Print out those text messages. Print out those Facebook messages. Print out your call log. I've even had situations where I've able to tell people how to get their voicemails onto an audio CD, and you could even bring that in as evidence as well. Okay. Now, a lot of times, like I said, narcissists are cyberbullying. They are harassing through social medias. You can record these things. There are ways to record it. All right, there are screen recording apps. You could take another cell phone and record these videos before they delete it before the court date. You know, any evidence that you have, make sure that you're gathering it. And if that narcissist had access to your phone, please be careful. Please be careful. I've seen situations where even the narcissist has gone, and this is for husbands and wives out there, when you guys shared all this personal information, they've gone and deleted voicemails out of the other one's phone, because you know how sometimes you can call from another phone and access your voicemails. They know your PIN number. They can delete evidence that you might want to present to the judge. So this is in my other video where I said steps to take when going no contact with a narcissist. Beforehand, change all your passwords. This is what I said. But even at this point, if you're in that proceeding and you believe they might know your voicemail PIN, even if you don't believe they might know it, may be in your best advantage to change your PIN. You know, or at least back up those voicemails on another, get a hard copy of them. If somebody went in there and deleted them, you already have a copy of them, but you don't want them to continue to have access. So go ahead and just change that PIN. All right. So you will go before the judge and each side is going to tell, you know, why they're there. Now, never interrupt them when they're speaking. Your opposer or your abuser or your accuser, okay? Never interrupt them, even if they're just spitting out a whole bunch of lies. Remember, you're going to stay calm, cool, and collected, all right? Then when it's your turn, you know, you can go ahead and speak your side. Maybe you can have a pen and a pad with you and you can write down their lies as you hear them. And then when it's your turn, you can address these things unless the judge interrupts them and intercepts and asks you to speak on something while they're talking, or, you know, pause them from talking to address something right on the spot. If the judge doesn't ask you to do that, you're going to keep your mouth shut and just write down their lies. And, you know, go ahead and debunk them with your evidence, calm, cool, and collectively. Now, a lot of people go back and forth as to, do they need to have a lawyer? A lawyer always helps. It does. But if you are innocent, if you are actually innocent, and it really depends on what you're being accused of, it really does. But a lawyer does always help, but it's not always necessary. If you're going in there cool, calm, and collective with your evidence and you are actually innocent, then, you know, you should pretty much be okay. You should be okay. So after you guys go and see the court, either they will issue a permanent one. And when I say permanent, it's going to be permanent for a certain amount of time. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. It could be 2 years. It could be 3 years. It could be 5 years. And I think in the worst case, it could even be up to a lifetime, depending on the types of abuse that are present in the case. All right, so each state has its increments of time that they will place on it. All right, and of course, if a restraining order is placed on you, you can appeal it. You can always appeal decisions, but in the meantime, you always have to follow them. And for my survivors out there who get the restraining order, that's great. That's great. But still do not let your guard down, okay? Because that restraining order is a piece of paper. And narcissists are very entitled and they think they're above the law. I've talked to many survivors who have gotten restraining orders and are back and forth in the court about it because the narcissist is, you know, breaking the orders. And speaking of which, when you file your petition, make sure that you really get detailed about it, and you are inserting, all the areas, like, so that they are not able to come within a certain distance, live in your neighborhood, and your children, or your innermost circle there. So just make sure that you are getting the fullest coverage from a legal aspect, whether they decide to respect it and abide by it. It's written there. It's written there to be enforced. Then you could be able to call the police. Oh, the narcissist is, in this coffee house with me, or, they're outside of my home, standing in a bush, stalking you, whatever the case may be. But I definitely want to say that, we do have to keep in mind that it is still a sheet of paper. And sometimes, these narcissists, they could get drunk, they can get high, or, they can just go into their own ego and feel like they can do what they want to do. And a piece of paper is not going to stop them. All right? So you have to just be careful. And this isn't about you living in fear. It's just about you awareness. All right? It's about awareness. Now, for those of you who feel like, the court date, they went down and filed it, and the temporary one, and it's 10 days later. By the time you get the paperwork, maybe 3 days before court date. This is what I was talking about as far as the benefit of discovery. You don't really get that time to comfortably compile all your evidence, but it is a slim possibility, but a possibility that you could get something called a continuance if you could present, when you show up for that temporary hearing, that there's very vital pieces of evidence that you need further time to be able to present to the judge or to the court. Okay? So that would be called a continuance, but don't blow off that court date, because now they're just going to have a field day, saying things about you. And the judge, it depends on how many notices they've sent, or if they know that you were served and you didn't show up, then, that's going to go in a favor of the accuser. All right. So let's go back to talking about the lawyer a little bit here. For those of you who can't afford a lawyer, there is legal aid, and there are organizations set up to help people that are filing the restraining orders. As far as organizations, there is legal aid as well to help with people who have been accused as well. All right. But that does take time. And when you don't have the benefit of discovery, the continuance could very well be granted on the base of you working with legal aid to obtain a lawyer. All right. That's a possibility. But, this is just a very serious topic, and it could be a nuisance. It could be a huge nuisance to someone who's wrongfully being served anyway, because, now it could be time off of work. And then when you're going no contact, you just want to heal and move on with your life. Here you are in a situation where they're trying to draw you back in, abusing the court systems, manipulating things, trying to play with your time and energy. Like, who wants to put energy into this? Like, if you dump that narcissist trying to move on with your life, and here they go with the BS. It can be very, very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. The best thing that you can do is maintain your no contact, gather all the evidence that you can, and always stay calm, cool, collected, and never miss your court dates. Okay? Never miss your court dates. And definitely, of course, comply with the orders of the temporary restraining order in the meanwhile. Okay? Definitely comply. And for those of you who have rightfully obtained this restraining order for just reasons, meaning this narcissist is harassing you, is abusing you. Obviously, don't allow that narcissist to say, well, let's just throw this out, and because it is possible, we'll talk about that you can make a written statement to withdraw a restraining order, guys. Let me grab some water here. You can decide not to. But, a lot of times, and I'm going to just talk about women right now. They're in a domestic violence and their boyfriend wants to make up with them and they're love bombing them again. So they decide to withdraw it. They don't want to do it. But then, a few weeks later, bam, we're back there again. So it's like on and off again. You're down there making another report. And if this has been your pattern in your relationship, this is obviously you're trauma bonded at this point, and it's extremely toxic and dangerous, specifically for domestic violence. Do you know how many young women have lost their lives because they would not let go of a toxic situation, and especially once they have children? There's a sick, twisted perception on what love and loyalty is, and this could end up costing, and it has costed so many women their lives because they would not let this man go, and he's beating on her, and she go get the restraining order, maybe even get it activated or enforced, and then still end up with him. They're still seeing each other. They're both being quiet about it. And then there's another situation. He's drinking. He comes, beats her up. This time he kills her. I've just seen this yesterday on the news, guys. 24-year-old woman shot in the middle of her forehead, dead. Okay? And she had a 5-week-old baby with this man. Monster. I'll just call him a monster at that point. Her family really tried to get her to leave this man, and she would not. And now she has passed away. God rest her soul. But I know she's on the other side right now, upset about that. She's separated from her baby. And she was 24 years old. I don't want to digress per se, but, this is important for me to mention in this discussion. You have to get away from this man. You have to get away from that narcissist that is abusing you. That's domestic violence. And even if it's not physical, mental and emotional abuse counts as well. And if they have demonstrated these patterns, one time is enough, honestly. You don't need patterns of getting your behind beat to know if it's true or not. One time is enough. But for those of you who have seen the patterns, literally seen the patterns, and you're still there. All right. So I just, there's a lot of organizations out there that will help. Even if you don't have a job, even if the narcissist was the breadwinner, there are places that will help women and children. Okay. There are places. I'm going to, gather some information and put it under this video. All right. To help somebody that may need more or further information. But, in a nutshell, restraining orders are very serious. Okay? Restraining orders, even the temporary ones, take them very serious because they got to get the temporary ones before they get the permanent one. Okay? And even though the temporary one is basically saying they're allegedly accused of something, but it's moving towards being permanent. And you have to go into court and, defend. Or they will have to come into court and defend. Like I said, every state has different regulations in a general and specific sense. So you want to Google getting a restraining order in the state of boom. Okay? That's what you will want to do. And, I always tell my survivors not to live their life in fear. Awareness is not fear. That's why when I mentioned, it's a piece of paper. And some people believe they are above the law, and narcissists do. All right? So that may not actually be enough to keep them at bay and to keep them away. And then we have other instances where the narcissist is just using it to further punish a supply, throw their new relationship in a supply's face. Just making up lies, honestly, to try to ruin your life. Because that's all they're trying to do when they're with you. Take your light, bring you down to their level, and crush you. Because they don't have what you have. And they're going to always be jealous haters. I've made videos about the narcissists being jealous haters. All right. So this is my general video to at least begin the discussion on restraining orders. I hope that, it has helped someone. If you feel like you need to get a restraining order, have the courage to do so and build a support system. Gather your evidence and be calm, cool, and collected. And that may be a tall order for someone who has actually experienced a lot of abuse. To go in there and talk about it when you're still in the healing process. And usually at the level of getting restraining order, it's still very raw. But like I said, there are a ton of organizations out there that will offer you that emotional support. And, if you have family and friends to lean on at this time, do that. Okay? Definitely do that. All right, survivors. Definitely stay safe and stay woke. And I always say, don't put anything past the narcissist. And oftentimes survivors are very surprised when they get served, when they are the ones summoned into court after going through all of the crappy relationship and abuse. We'll put relationships in quote. Now you have to come to the court and defend that you're not the one abusing the narcissist. Yeah. It happens. It happens. But maintaining your no contact and keeping a file on them. Keep a file. Keep a file. With narcissists, I've had to be that way myself. I keep organized files on there when they reach out, even from the block numbers. And if I ever need that information, I got it. There's nothing wrong with having that. Okay? To protect yourself. All right, guys, I'm going to stop this video here. If you have anything that you would like for me to address in regards to restraining orders, you can, leave those questions down below. But, it's always great to seek counsel. Now, what I mean by my question is if you would like for me to make a video on an aspect of restraining orders that I didn't restrict, that I did not address in this video in regards to the narcissist, feel free to leave that question below. All right. So I want to clean that up. Otherwise, lawyers do offer free consultations. You can get information. You can Google your state laws. There is legal aid as well to help people that make certain income. All right. So there's a lot of information out there on your fingertips. All right. Just seek it and utilize it in your journey. All right. Please stay safe, guys. And until next time, please take care.